everybody. My name is John Lohr. I am the FinCom Chair. And I'd like to call tonight's meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, April 1st of 2026 at 7 p.m. Before we get started, though, I would like to have everybody introduce themselves, starting off to my far left. Go ahead.
Eric Marthinson.
Pete Berube.
Joyce Boyardi.
Mike Crone.
Mark Johnson.
Brett Hausler.
Perfect, thank you. And I believe we have one person on Zoom, Heidi. Are you coming in yet? Let's see here.
Yep, there she is.
Perfect. Heidi, can you hear us?
Heidi, you're muted. Okay, there you go.
Okay. Please introduce yourself to the world for FinCom. That's Heidi Gilmore. There's a delay. No, you're good. You're good. Okay, so as we're talking here, you can watch this on your local access channel at home, Comcast Channel 6, Verizon Channel 38. You can see it on millismedia.org, as well as we are live streaming it on YouTube. And just like Select Board School Committee, you can attend in person, which is highly recommended. And last, all the material that we cover in tonight's meeting will be available online on the FinCom page on the Millis website. So just a reminder for members as well as guests that you need to be 4 inches from the microphone so we can pick it up on audio. Make sense? All right. So with that said, let's get right into our agenda. Actually, Community Preservation Committee, which is on the agenda, we're going to move that to, I believe, next week's meeting. So that means we're going straight into the school presentation. So Bob Mulaney and Shalene, thank you very much for coming tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us, and thank you and welcome to the new members of the committee. On my right is Shalene Volpe. She's our school business agent, and so she's here to help me out if you guys ask some tough questions that I don't have right at my fingertips. I'm sure Shalene does. During the presentation, I have some slides. If you have questions, feel free to ask them, during the presentation, or if you want to hold off till after the presentation, that's fine too. So we'll get right into it. Try and share my screen.
Perfect.
Hopefully this works.
Bob and I were exchanging emails, and for the newer members as well as existing members, it's always good to review circuit breakers, school choice, et cetera, that we'll be going through in tonight's meeting. So if you have questions, please ask and learn and get a full understanding so we know what the numbers represent.
Hopefully this gets us to where we need to be. Great. Just a little bit on the timeline. You folks are familiar with it. Actually, starting back in November, we started looking at next year's budget with our administrative team. We work with school committee to develop a draft budget. We presented that budget at a public hearing earlier in March at a school committee meeting. And now we're in April, and so we're with the FinCom. From now until May, we'll continue to look at the number of variables that still exist and make adjustments for a balanced budget at town meeting. And in June, the school committee will approve the recast budget with that final number that's approved at town meeting. And just some of our guiding principles that are the foundation of our budget. We aim to support the highest quality educational programs and services as possible. Fund proposed curriculum developments, initiatives, instructional resources, enhance programs and support services to meet individual needs. Frankly, over the past 3 years, we really haven't been able to do this. We've just kind of been struggling to stay afloat. With this year's budget, we hope to be able to chip away at some of that. Provide staffing levels that support reasonable class sizes at all levels. Again, something that has been more aspirational in some grade levels. As you'll see in a little bit, we have some class sizes that are fairly large. But in other areas of the system, we have reasonable class sizes. Maintain the current level of services provided. We think we can do that with this proposed budget. We think this proposed budget will also support salary adjustments and contractual obligations, fund those state and federal mandates, which seem to take up more and more of our budget every year, and take care of our school buildings and grounds to make sure they're safe and secure. So those are the goals of the budget. And before I get to the actual numbers, just some of the information on the school, our students, and you know, what it looks like. We have, we continue to see our school system becoming more diverse. If you were to look at our demographics 10 years ago, the percentage of white students would be in the high 80s, if not 90%. But we see that as a town, Millis is becoming more diverse, and our school system certainly reflects that diversity. The Hispanic or Latino category of the state continues to grow as our second highest race ethnicity next to white. Selected populations. So in this slide, we're comparing this year to last year, and we have the high needs, and I'll explain what these categories are. High needs English learners. English learners are students who are not fluent in English, who are learning English as they are going through school. 10.4% of our kids come from homes where English is not the first language. So they may be fluent in English, but it's not the first language in their home. 17.4% of our kids are low-income students, and 24.3% of our students are students with disabilities. They have an IEP, an individualized education program. The high needs category, any student who is categorized as an English learner, a low-income student, or a student with disabilities is categorized as high needs. And there are some high needs kids who fit more than one category. So if we have a student with disabilities who's also low income, that counts as one high needs learner. And as you can see, compared to last year, high needs learners continue to grow. So we saw a 7% increase from 34.9% of our kids to 37.4% of our kids being categorized as high needs. We see English learners continue to grow, and that's been a trend over the last 7 years. And our students with disabilities, those numbers continue to grow as well. And for the second year in a row, we are above the state average on that. There have been some questions about, why are these numbers rising? I'd say there's a couple of issues involved. One is it's a trend throughout, not even Massachusetts, throughout the country. We're seeing more kids with more needs and more specialized needs, and more kids needing special instruction, and the acuity of those needs, the level of those needs is also increasing. Also, Millis does have a reputation for a very solid special education program, and so we do have people moving into town to avail themselves of the services and programs that we have. Particularly in Clyde Brown, we see a lot of the move-ins when they come in. We see a number of those kids who come to us with IEPs and requiring those services.
Quick question. So regarding this category, and maybe you'll speak to it in a different slide, so if you want to defer, that's fine. What's the state requiring and the mandates, and what are we as a town trying to keep up with with those special needs as a broad category?
Yeah, so, I mean, the responsibility of the town or the schools is to educate all students in the least restrictive environment. So if there's a student that requires specialized instruction, and they qualify for an IEP, then those services that are determined in the IEP team meeting, and the team meeting consists of school personnel, the parents of the student, and sometimes outside providers. That team decides what is appropriate for that student, what services that student needs. Once that IEP is signed, we are responsible for implementing that IEP. And again, the requirement is to do it in the least restrictive environment. So the more we can keep a student in the regular classroom, the better. But because of the level of need, some kids need to be pulled out occasionally. Some kids need to be pulled out more than 50% of the school day. And, you know, as those levels go up, we have a number of students who are placed in out-of-district schools because of their level of need and because of the specialized programs and services they require.
And on that IEP note, can you say how many IEPs Millis has currently, and what has that trend been like over the years?
So it's increased. I can get you the information on the number of actual IEPs, but it has increased obviously over the
Yep.
course of the last few years, because we're at 24% kids with disabilities. I want to say in the neighborhood of 300, because we have just under 1,200 students in our system.
Makes sense. Yep.
And we're at almost 25%. So it's in that neighborhood.
Neighborhood, that's fine.
Yeah, and I'd also say the number of students attending out-of-district placements has remained pretty steady. Our numbers in that area are steady. However, the cost of those placements, those have gone up significantly.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Heidi.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Since special ed costs are rising, and as is the population of the students needing services, I remember some discussion fairly recently about regionalizing special ed services with other towns around us to help us all financially support these important services. Where does that stand?
So that is something that the neighboring districts do try and do. We've had cases where another school district would have a program that one of our kids would fit in within their, their school, so it's not an out-of-district placement. So we have tuitioned some kids into other schools. We don't have a student that meets that criteria now. And we've also had students from other districts come in and use some of our programs, most notably our transition program, the 18 to 22-year-old program. But at this time, we don't have any students from other districts in there. So it happens. However, it doesn't happen as frequently as we'd like. And a big determining factor is the level of need, what kind of services the kid needs, the student needs, and is there a comparable program in another district that has room? So there are some variables there, but it is something we look at, and when we can do it, and it's the best fit for the student. We have done that in the past.
Thank you.
Because it seems like it's something many towns are struggling with, and it is an area of the budget that's growing significantly.
Yes, yeah, and a lot of, as you mentioned, a lot of our neighboring towns are dealing with the same thing.
Yep.
And when we start talking about transportation, that's the same issue as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and just our current enrollment, this is as of February, so the numbers are slightly different today, April 1st, but you can see enrollment has declined since 2017, but has kind of leveled out. And we expect kind of flat growth over the next 10 years. This information on this slide is from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education statistics and data. And this is projections from the New England School Development Council. And so they're projecting, and I should also note that the 1,169, if that's the number there, the 1,169 does not include our out-of-district kids. We have 22 kids out of district. So the NESDEC projections include those kids. So that's why these numbers seem a little higher. But NESDEC's predicting, fairly flat growth over the next 10 years. But there are variables that could impact that. And, the new housing in Millis, remains to be seen how that will impact the schools. And the addition renovation to the high school, we may see from that either more people moving to the town with the new building, fewer kids going to private schools or choicing out. So those variables really aren't in these projections. But what, just based on their metrics, NESDEC's metrics, we're, rising slightly.
Go ahead, Mike.
So the 1217, now does that include the school choice students that, from other districts that are in ours, and our students that are going out of district that we contribute to it?
Yeah, so they do look at choice back and forth, and so it's not the most accurate because they're just going by strict numbers, and sometimes we have a more accurate data short-term because we know, okay, fifth grade has 5 choice kids, and we're graduating 6 choice kids, and kindergarten.
Do we know how many kids are actually within our system that we're paying for one way or the other, either with choice and out of district?
Yes, yeah, and I have that information in a later slide.
Okay.
So, yeah, and spoiler alert, we benefit from it.
Okay.
Choice, oh, yeah.
Excuse me. And then enrollment by grade, and, as I mentioned earlier, we have some grades that have, pretty high numbers, notably our second and third grades, with 100 kids in each class. We have 4 teachers at every level at Clyde Brown, so the math is kind of easy, just divide everything by 4. So, a second grade class size averages at 25, 0.25 kids. That's a lot of kids in a class. And our biggest class is the 6th grade, and they're at 106. But you can kind of see it ebbs and flows, and that impacts staffing as well. You might say, oh, well, kindergarten only has 75 kids. Instead of having 4 teachers, why don't you have 3? Well, you don't know the next year you could have 100 kids. So, those are things that we deal with year to year.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
another question. With the fluctuating enrollment for some of the grades, the comment that somebody made about can you take 4 teachers and make it 3 because kindergarten is only 75, can one of those teachers be deployed to one of the grade levels that have more students?
Yes, that could happen. I frankly, I wouldn't do it with I wouldn't have 25 kindergarten kids in one class if I could avoid it. But numbers like that, yes, you can definitely do that, and we have done that. Right now, the numbers really don't support doing that. If we had maybe 60 kindergartners or something like that, we'd make a move like that to have what we, a teacher that could follow those big classes through. We did have an additional teacher at Clyde Brown 3 years ago because we had a large class, and that teacher kind of followed through. So when the big class was in third grade, we had 5 third grade teachers. When they were in fourth grade, 5 fourth grade teachers. Unfortunately, that was one of the early cuts we had to make back in FY '24, before the big cuts in FY '25.
I got another question, Pete?
Mr. Chair, real quick, I understand the answer is yes, you could do it, but you're not totally unconstrained. There are some constraints as to which teachers can move and to
Right,
where.
yes, certainly by grade level, and there are also some contractual
Correct.
things you bump up against.
I think that's
Correct.
important for everybody to understand.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification.
Sounds good.
And then just our class sizes, you can kind of see, at Clyde Brown, just take the numbers and divide by 4, basically. It's not necessarily completely accurate, but it's an average. And then when we get to the high school level, because the classes are different that way, first of all, the high school's enrollment is as low as it's been in the past, 20 years since I've been here. Those numbers will be ticking up as that Clyde Brown bubble moves towards the high school. But, so the numbers at the high school do support, smaller class sizes. The average core class size is 14 kids, but that range can vary. We have a Spanish class with 5 students in it just because of the way the schedule worked out. And we have an honors algebra class with 29 kids in it. So there's a lot of variability there. But for the most part, the high school classes are pretty good size for that individual attention, that personalized learning. And then getting to choice. And choice, if you're new to the FinCom.
Yeah, take a moment, please, and
So
walk us
choice,
through.
so school choice is a program where students from other district can attend Millis, and likewise, kids from Millis can attend another district. Each year, the school committee votes on whether to be a choice district, and at our last school committee meeting last Tuesday, the committee voted to keep Millis a choice school. And essentially what choice does is, if you have extra seats in a classroom, so for example, that kindergarten class with 75 kids, we'd have room for other kids. So if someone wanted to choice their kid into Millis, they can come to Millis, and then the sending district pays Millis through the state approximately $5,000. So it's not the same as our per pupil expenditure, but it's an empty seat that now we have a kid in, and we're getting $5,000. And then if the student, it's important to know that if the student has an IEP and does require additional services that come at a cost, the sending district pays those costs. So, the baseline is $5,000. There are some choice students for whom we receive more than $5,000. We had $290,000 in choice money we received last year. Choice funds have been a lifeline for our schools. We've been able to fund things, positions and programs and equipment through choice. But as you can see from this slide, choice numbers have declined over the years. And part of it is some of our, the bubble of Clyde Brown, they haven't been able to accept as many choice students, so we've been graduating more choice students than we've been taking in. So we have 50 choice students this year, and there are 20 kids from Millis who choice to other districts now. So we're net 30 choice students. And a little later on, I can show you the impact of of the, the declining numbers of choice on our budget.
Perfect.
And then out of district in other public schools, so it's basically Tri-County. Millis is a member of the Tri-County Regional District, and Norfolk Aggie. And so this year, I think my slide is covered up on me, but I think we have 39 kids that go to Tri-County and 11 at,
Yeah,
11
that's
at
correct. Yeah.
Norfolk Aggie.
Yeah.
And so the cost for those kids at Tri-County, there's like a student assessment, and then there's a debt assessment. And so for our students, and that assessment the town gets is based on last year's October 1st enrollment. So last year we were at 43 kids, so our assessment is based on 43 students. Next year, will be based on 39. The year after that, that assessment could go up because we're only graduating 4 Millis kids from Tri-County this year. So it's a pretty safe bet we'll have more than 4 eighth graders choosing Tri-County next year. And so, the town assessment based on last year's enrollment was 1.1 million that the town was responsible for. Came out to about almost $26,000 a student. And the per pupil expenditure at Tri-County can vary because that debt assessment, that's a fixed charge to the town. It's a fixed assessment. So irrespective of how many kids you have going, the town owes, X amount of dollars. So if you have more kids going, that's broken up over more kids. If you have fewer, that assessment is broken up over fewer kids, so the per pupil cost goes up. So it can vary. When we had some years where we had fewer kids going to Tri-County, our assessment was higher than $25,000, $26,000 a kid. And then the Aggie's a little different. The Aggie is run by the county, and so the tuition for the Aggie is obviously significantly lower than Tri-County. And for this, their assessment is based on this year. So Tri-County is based on last year, Norfolk Aggie is based on this year. So the tuition for Norfolk Aggie this year was $5,500 per student, and we had 11 students going there.
Perfect. Joyce, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question as far as Tri-County and kids going there. Is there a limit as to how many students per class can go over there?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a percentage, every town in the Tri-County district has a percentage of seats at Tri-County based on the population of the town and so on and so forth. So there is a limit. However, if there are empty seats, then they can take more kids from a town than.
Similar
yeah.
to choice.
Very similar.
How many per class? 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th?
Generally, it's usually around 13 kids is the max.
Is the max?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And in recent years, Tri-County hasn't had room to go beyond the max. 10 years ago, we could have, 14, 15 kids going because they had empty seats.
Right.
Lately, they haven't had empty
Right.
seats.
Right.
And on that note, with the new building, they didn't increase the size, the capacity, did they?
No, it's the same size, yeah.
Which is interesting.
It
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
And what if it's a school choice student that's in our school and they go to 8th grade and they want to go to Tri-County?
So if they live
Thank you.
in a Tri-County district, that town will pay for them. So we're kind of off the hook for that. But we've had some choice kids who aren't their hometown isn't part of the Tri-County district. So either the town they're from would have to pay a higher rate, or
Go to a
they'd
different
belong to
vocation.
another vocational district like Blue Hills or something like that.
Either way, though, Millis is not responsible
right.
for the expense.
Right, if it's a choice kid.
Gotcha.
yes.
Yeah.
Just make,
Go ahead, Pete.
Forgive me, I need to ask for a clarification.
4 inches from the mic.
I think when you described the debt assessment, which I understand to be for the cost of the new school, that
Yeah.
depending on how many students from Millis go, it's still a fixed cost to the town, and it's divided by more or less students.
Right.
I always understood that to be the cost is prorated over the total population and then prorated by how many students from Millis would actually go. So that, in other words, if we have 15 kids go or 40 kids, that in fact our costs would change and would go up and down. It was variable how much we paid in total, and not necessarily the total amount would change, and then divided it by how many kids to get your unit cost. But I understood it almost exactly opposite
Opposite of
that
what
you
you said.
described. And I think I'm.
Yeah, go ahead, Craig.
Craig Schultz, Select Board, attending many, many, many meetings with Tri-County. I understand it exactly the way you do, that it was a cost per pupil that is going to increase over time, because right now they haven't built everything yet, so it's $7,000 now, but it could get up into the $12,000 range. But I'd like that checked, because I thought it was a per pupil cost. Now, right now with 13, 14 kids per grade going, it's pretty standard, but
Yeah, so my understanding, and I will check this,
Yeah.
my understanding was the tuition rate can fluctuate, but the capital and the debt assessment is the same number. So,
yeah,
So it's
I think
pretty
that
much the
needs
same
checking,
thing.
because that's exactly the opposite of what I think it was presented at when I attended those meetings.
I do too, and I'm not trying to
Yeah.
quibble. I
oh,
just-
no, yeah,
But it's a big
absolutely.
big difference. Yeah, it's a
Right.
huge difference, because I'd love to have it
Right,
fixed at
and
this
that, and
rate.
the capital assessment can definitely go up
Yeah.
because of the new building.
Right. And, yeah, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you. And then other students out of district enrollment, and we see we have 95 Millis students at various private schools in the area, 12 are homeschooled and 3 are charter. You'll notice a big jump in the attendance at private schools, and this is driven largely by St. Benedict School in Natick. Before this year, they never reported students from Millis attending their school. And apparently, St. Benedict started out, it was a small school in Natick, but in December of '24, they built a new facility, and so they've grown a lot. And so we just found out this year that we have 18 Millis kids going to St. Benedict's. The other private schools that have a lot of Millis students, Xaverian, Sparhawk, which is in Millis, and Thean has 9.
Would St. Benedict have the historical data of Millis kids going? And should the numbers be?
We can check with them. I honestly, I don't know. And I don't know if it's a function of, were they an accredited school before? Did they communicate with
Yeah.
the state? But we never received any information on that.
It just might smooth out the numbers. Go ahead, Joyce.
Is St. Benedict K through?
I think it's a
I
pre-K
asked on-
through 8.
Okay.
Pre-K through 8.
Okay. The reason I asked is because if it was 8 through 12, you would have to have known, the pupil population would have been known, so that's why I'm just clarifying.
Right,
So if
right. Yeah,
somebody
so
else-
I suppose you could have a Millis kid go there pre-K, and if we didn't know about it, we wouldn't know about it.
Right, right.
Okay.
And then getting into Millis's own per pupil expenditures, you can see this is in district, our kids who are not outplaced. And this is from FY '24, which is the latest year we have data available. The Millis is at $21,123 per pupil. It's below the state average, and it's slightly above the average of our neighboring districts. And again, fluctuations in enrollment can certainly impact that number. And then when you factor in out-of-district expenses, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just one question, just for comparison, do we know how many students there are in the Medway school system?
Off the top of my head, I'd say I don't know if I should say off the top of my head. I would say they're probably maybe twice the size of Millis.
Twice?
You know,
They're spending a lot more than we are. Not per pupil, but their budget's not a lot.
yeah, their budget is certainly a lot bigger than ours, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
And then, you know, we see the same kind of trend when we factor in our out-of-district students. Millis's per pupil average, when you factor in our out-of-district students, is $22,258. Again, below the state average and about $300 higher than the neighboring district average. And then,
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Pete.
sorry if I missed this, the neighboring district, are those just the average of contiguous bordering
yeah,
towns?
pretty much, yeah. And some like Tri-Valley schools.
Thank you.
And then the state collects data and comes up with a group of schools that they call our DOT schools. And the DOT is District Analysis and Review Tool. And so they collect these schools and say that they are the districts most similar to us in grade span, total enrollment, special populations. It's kind of a challenging thing to do, I think, because two of our DOT districts are Silver Lake and KP, and they're only 7 to 12 districts, so their grade span is not the same as us, but that's, you know, what the state has said our DOT comparison districts are. And when you look at our DOT districts, you know, we're kind of right in the middle there. And the DOT average per pupil expenditure is about $21,048, which is close to what we're spending. And then same thing in the with the out of district. You know, we're slightly higher than the district average, but not much. And you know, we're right in the middle of the DOT schools.
Thank you.
And then just to move on to the spending trends and funding trends over the past few years. I think it's important to note that, you know, for the last 10 years, net school spending, which includes our operational budget, grants, revolving accounts, all those different revenue sources, net school spending has increased by 3.77% annually since FY21. And since 2015, it's been an annual increase of 4.5%. So the spending, you know, the spending is not crazy, you know, spending. What we spend from year to year increases appropriately when you factor in inflation and contractual obligations and things like that. The challenge is the amount of that spending that is borne by the town. And so you can see that state funding has consistently declined, and so the burden on the town for its portion of the budget has steadily increased. And this is something that's not unique to Millis. 270 out of 318 districts receive quote-unquote minimum aid from the state. And minimum aid in the governor's preliminary budget is $75 per student more this year than we received last year. And as reflected in the cherry sheet, we're looking at an increase of $81,825 in Chapter 70 spending, an increase of $29,139 in charter reimbursement. And you'll note we didn't get charter reimbursement last year. So, you know, a later budget, the House budget or the Senate budget, you know, those numbers might shift a little bit. And charter school reimbursement is, it's kind of, first of all, we don't have a lot of kids in charter schools, but when you have a student that goes to a charter school, the first year, you're reimbursed 100% of that tuition. The second year that student's in a charter school, the town receives 60%. Third year, 40%. Fourth year, the town's totally responsible for everything. Not a huge factor for us because we only had 3 kids in charters this year. And the preliminary numbers are we'll have 1 kid in a charter school next year. So, but in the governor's budget, they're proposing $29,000 in charter reimbursement for us.
So we didn't have any charter students before?
We did have charter school students before, but the budget did not fund that line.
Okay.
So, and what happened last year was, in the governor's original budget, I think we did have charter reimbursement, but in the House and Senate version, it came out, and basically, they took the charter reimbursement and put it into Chapter 70. So it was like a net zero. We have a decrease in choice tuition receipts. And, you know, kind of getting back to that earlier slide about choice, where we have fewer students this year than we did the prior year. And again, these numbers could shift slightly, as you know, when the House budget comes out and the compromise. So back to school choice, you can see, you know, back in FY '21, we received about $500,000 in choice. And, you know, now you see we've had some significant declines in choice. You know, we're about anticipating about $19,000 less than last year. And overall, we've seen a 46% decrease in choice. And what happens when we don't get those choice dollars? You know, we use choice to fund certain positions, certain expenses, and we've been unable to rely on choice as that, you know, kind of big funding source in the last few years. And the current trend is we're graduating more choice students than we can take in. So we'd like to see a return to those, you know, robust numbers from FY '21.
So based on the prior slides and the higher Clyde Brown numbers, would this potentially graph start to go back up as those Clyde Brown students move forward or not?
Tough to say because, you know, a class of 100 in Clyde Brown couldn't take any
Oh, I'm
choice
with you.
kids, really.
I'm with you.
But by the time they get to middle and high school, there could be some opportunities.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes in high school, you know, where we have kids going to Tri-County or other schools, sometimes that creates room for choice kids.
So, so most of the, or is it safe to say, generally speaking, most of the school choice kids come in early on, like elementary school?
It's really a mixed bag.
Okay.
Because we do have, particularly in high school, when seats do open up, because kids choose, excuse me, other schools, like Tri-County.
Yep.
then we have seats open.
Yeah.
And so we have, we have a number of kids who start as choice students in the high school.
Joyce, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm a little, why such a decline, though, in numbers? Because it looked like our school class sizes stayed the same. So is it people are not wanting to come to Millis anymore? And if that's the case, why?
Well, I think there's a couple of factors. Another factor is enrollments are decreasing in other districts as well. So the pool of kids is not as big as it was.
Okay.
And so, someone from another town who might have felt like the class sizes were too big in their town, and Millis was a great option, that's kind of drying up. I'll also say that, because, we're going to be updating our facility, I think our facility had something to do with it as
Yeah.
well. That's just anecdotal. I don't have the data on that, but I think those are the factors.
Do you think that the increase will come once our school is
I th-
improved?
I think it could be a factor, yeah.
Brett, you have a question? Yep.
Thanks for being here tonight, by the way.
thank
This is a marathon. I would love to hear a little bit more about the strategy to fund positions, knowing that they are funded by, say, choice revenue, knowing that that is, of course, variable. And so is the idea that is budget relief when the total students may not decrease, but those students themselves are not choice, so we don't have the choice revenue coming in to offset those costs? Is it as simple as that?
Yeah, so what's happening is, back in FY '21, we funded a lot more positions than we can now. So we've had to take a lot of those salaries that we formerly paid out of choice and paid them out of our operating budget, just because we don't have the revenue that we used to. So it's a fine line. You have to kind of project, okay, what can we pay out of choice and still maintain a balance in that revolving account. We can't spend it all and have it go away. So, we want it to be sustainable, but what choice can cover now is certainly not the same as what choice covered, 5 years ago.
Thank you.
Keith?
I asked this before,
Yep.
probably every year, and if it's such a benefit to the community to have choice students, what do we do to market it?
Well, it's not like, we can't go out and try and recruit kids.
Why not?
That's a good question. I think in the interest of maintaining good relationships with our neighbors, and.
That's a good answer.
But oftentimes, we'll get us, I know when I was high school principal, oftentimes, I'd be in a discussion with another principal who said, we have this kid who's, really kind of struggling here in our school. Do you have room in school? So we do that as well sometimes, again, being a good neighbor.
I understand.
Yeah.
I just want to throw out a theory here that potentially that you didn't say, is that part of the reason that the choice numbers, and especially at the high school levels, are down is because we've made cuts in our schools. Our course offerings are lower. Your middle school numbers are way up, and so you can forecast that your choice numbers aren't going to change because you don't have any room when those middle school students move into high school.
Yeah.
So the only way that choice numbers are going to go up is at the lower grades. Not that you need to advertise it and shout it from the hilltops, but perhaps, somehow looking at how do you get the word out.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your answer.
I also appreciate, the cuts over the last few years certainly would be a factor in that. But, in getting the word out also, one of the ways that it happens is, we get a choice kid from another district, the kid has a good experience, we start getting kids from that person's neighborhood and so on and so forth. So there is some word of mouth that goes around.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So put a plant in one of the schools.
There you go. Okay,
And then, and I should also mention, when a choice kid comes into our district, they are our students until the end unless they choose to leave.
Yep.
So, you know, if we had a choice student in and we had a population explosion in a grade, that choice kid still has a seat.
One question about choice.
Yeah, go ahead.
If a student leaves your school and goes to another school and opts to come back, do they have to be interviewed to be brought back, or can they come back?
There's a process, they'd have to apply again.
If they were a resident? If they were a resident of Millis and they went to another school?
Oh, okay, sorry, I misunderstood.
No, that's fine, I wasn't
Yeah.
very clear, I should have,
Yeah.
I said, I kind of did a he and a she. If they're a resident of Millis, and say they go to Holliston, and then they decide that's not the place for them, and they want to
Yes.
come back to their...
100%, they
Do
are,
they ha-
they have a right to come back.
They don't have to be
They,
interviewed?
no interview, nothing.
right.
Well, my...
Welcome back.
Okay.
So you're not, yeah,
It's changed,
Yeah.
because when choice was first available, if a child left and went to another district and chose to come back, they were interviewed, as if to say, tell us why you deserve to come back to
Yeah,
Millis.
no.
So I want to be sure
Yeah,
that that's
thank you.
not the
That's-
case
yeah,
anymore.
No, it has, at least for the last, 20 years, when I
Yeah.
started out as high school principal.
circuit breakers.
Okay,
You may wanna
circuit breaker is.
Talk about this for a little bit.
Yeah, so circuit breaker is reimbursement
Yep.
the school receives for special education expenditures that qualify for reimbursement. And basically, to put it at its most basic level, it's money, reimbursement we receive for out-of-district tuitions, mainly. That's the bulk of it. And so it's a reimbursement fund, so it's money we get the year following the year we made the expenditure. And so here's a little scenario here, hypothetical. If we had a kid this year who was attending an out-of-district placement, and that placement cost $100,000. To be eligible for circuit breaker, first of all, there's a threshold before circuit breaker kicks in. And so for FY '26, the threshold is $53,431. It's four times the cost of the foundation per pupil expenditures. Challenging formulas. But so Millis would be, so the kid goes to the school for $100,000. Millis is responsible for the first $53,431 of that tuition. The amount above the threshold, we're eligible to get 75% reimbursement. So the reimbursable amount of that $100,000 tuition is $46,569. If it's fully funded, which the legislature has been very good about fully funding circuit breaker for the past 15, 20 years, we get the 75%. It's not guaranteed, though. But we'd get 75% of the $46,569. So we'd get $34,927 next year
Yep.
for that. So the total cost to Millis would be, for that student, of that $100,000 tuition would be $65,073.
Go ahead, Mike.
Have we roughly averaged about 35% state reimbursement each year, or does that really fluctuate a lot?
So the 75% is,
Right. Yeah, but right now you've got, so after the 75% of the reimbursable amount, it's basically 35%.
Yeah,
Has that fluctuated a lot?
it
over
does,
the years?
it does fluctuate, because if you had a student going to school for $200,000,
Right.
it would be $146,000 that was reimbursable. So it gets 75% of $146,000, which would be a higher percentage of $200,000 than what we get for a $100,000 tuition.
Okay, so the reimbursable amount is the fluctuating factor.
Right, it's, right, exactly. It's the amount above the threshold.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Eric.
So given that the money, the 800 is, it's been consistent but not guaranteed, what's our contingency if that doesn't, if that's not funded, if we don't get that?
Our contingencies would have to pull things out of the operating budget. We do operate on the assumption that it will be fully funded, as does 319 other school districts as well.
Gotcha.
And it's been fully funded for
For
as long as you can remember?
as long as I can remember.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mike.
I think one thing to point out.
Mike, into the mic.
Oh, into the mic, sorry. I think-
Mike, the
Mike,
mic.
I'm getting confused by the mics. I think it's interesting to point out that school budgets, unlike other town budgets, it's basically a set sum of money. So if they had to move around expenses and salaries and so forth, they can do that. Town budgets can't do that. You're stuck with whatever's an expense. You've got to stick in expenses in that department. You can't move money from department to department. So at least they would have that flexibility that if that did happen, they could move money from one source to another source. We hope that never happens, but it is the one level of flexibility that this group has that the town doesn't have. But then again, the town usually doesn't have those types of issues.
And then some other things that augment our budget. We get grants for FY '26 to IDEA, which is a special education grant. These are federal grants. We received $350,000 in IDEA money, $17,758 for an IDEA early childhood grant, Title I, II, and IV grants. The Student Opportunity Act evidence-based project grant is a one-time grant, and I'll be speaking about this a little later, but we got $100,000 this year, and we were able to use that money to hire 1.9 special education teachers at Clyde Brown. That grant expires this year, so in our proposed budget, we're rolling 1.5 FTEs from this grant into our budget. And then interpreter training, we got $3,400 for that. So over the course of FY '26, we received $539,695 in grants that have helped fund a number of positions, but also a number of programs and services.
You said at the beginning there were federal grants, but then there's a star here saying one-year state grants. So is it a combination of federal and state?
Yeah, the first three listed there are federal grants, and the SOA grant and the interpretation training, those were state grants.
And are those federal level grants getting squeezed at all currently?
Yeah, what we've been advised is the Title I grant, which is about $47,000, but this year we were able to combine Title I, II, and IV. The Title I grant, about $47,000. I wish it was $4,700. $47,000. They're saying the DOE is telling us bank on 85% of that.
Okay.
So, I mean, 85% of $47,000. It's, you know, it's not like IDEA. Again, that's another one where we kind of plan on roughly the same year to year. And IDEA will go up and down a little bit, but generally speaking, it's been fairly steady.
Good.
In anticipation of the departure of the DOE, from what we've been told, do we anticipate that when the DOE goes away, these will go away?
I don't think so. This was certainly a concern last year at this time, like, how do we budget these? And in the end, they came out pretty much the same. But some of the things I've heard was if the DOE were to close, then that money would be given to the states, and the states would figure out what to do with it. So.
Go ahead, Joyce.
As far as the grants, do you have a grant writer?
The Director of Curriculum and Instruction generally does the grant writing, and unfortunately, she's retired, but she was very good. That Student Opportunity Act grant for $100,000, there were only 10 districts in the state that got that grant, and we were one of them. And so we do, the Director of Curriculum handles most of those. We're hiring a new Director of Curriculum for 26-27, and our former Curriculum Director, Maureen Knowlton, will be helping us with that too. She'll still be able to
Are
help us
these the
out.
only grants that you can apply, or are there other grants available?
There are other grants available. A lot of times it depends on the profile of your district and, what the grant is for.
Have all
whether or
of those
not we
grants been
apply.
exhausted by your curriculum director? Has she applied to all the different?
The ones that fit, yes, but there are some that, you have to have, over 50% low-income students and things like that. And those we don't even apply for because we can't obtain them.
You need to qualify for it.
Right, we don't qualify.
Thank you.
Use the mic, please.
If there's other grants out there that the principals will take it upon themselves to write some grant, fill out an application, sometimes we get it, we get lucky, but it's not big money.
And the grants tend to be, very specific. So, for example, last year, the high school principal, Mr. Nash, applied for a grant to get a career fair at the high school, and he was awarded that grant, so it paid for the career fair. It's not something that was like in our budget to begin with. It was supplemental to our budget.
So these are really the big ticket ones?
These are definitely, the IDEA is the big ticket one.
How about we get into the budget?
All right, here we go.
Let's do it.
Really?
So, the budget number that we're bringing to the FinCom and bringing to the community is a 4% increase over our last year's budget at $22,188,808. $22,188,808. And compared to last year, as I said, it's a 4% increase. We see salaries increasing by 3.71%. We actually see our out-of-district tuitions declining by 10.9%, and there's basically two reasons for that. One is we have a slight decrease in tuitions with students who are graduating from those out-of-district placements, and we also have more circuit breaker money this year than we did last year, so there's more money to offset those tuitions. And then we see an increase of 18.1% in other expenses. Some of these expenses include the big ticket items are contracted services, particularly in special education. So if we need specialists to come in and work with kids, and the one that's really a struggle for us is transportation. We have had to contract out a number of special ed transportation routes, and it's been a.
Can you just give us an example? I know what it is, but just, can you give us an example of the transportation? I know that there's, how many school buses?
So, yes.
Not school buses, but special
Yeah, it's
transportation
the
buses?
special ed vans.
Yeah.
So we have we have 22 out-of-district placements, and so probably at least 18 of those require us to transport the student. And so depending on the route, depending on if the student needs a monitor, those are the kind of expenses that we have. We do some in-house, but we don't have enough drivers. So for those routes that we don't have a driver for, we have to contract out to a private company, and that's more costly to us than, if it were done in-house. Again, not something exclusive to Millis, but it's what we have to deal with.
Okay.
Okay, and just, these are the expenditure drivers. 1.65 million in out-of-district tuition. That's with an offset of $800,000 in circuit breaker. So our actual number for next year for out-of-district tuitions is $2.45 million. As I mentioned, contracted and consulting services include special education services, translations, with the rise in EL students not fluent in English, and families where English isn't the first language. We're required another mandated expense to make sure we have translated documents, translators available when we have conferences and things like that. Tutoring services, as I mentioned, transportation and maintenance. Those are costs included in that contracted and consulting services expenditure. Energy and utilities are a big driver. One of the things we were able to, in terms of utilities, we have been able to cut down on the phone expenses because we went to a new provider and we did it with Town Hall, so we see some savings there, but, fuel for the buses, the oil and gas for the schools, those expenses are going up greatly. School bus leases is a big expenditure. It's steady. Our newest yellow buses are on a 6-year lease, so that cost is pretty steady. And then the technology expenditure has actually gone down a little from last year. But if you add all those together, that's 73% of our expenses are in those 5 buckets.
And not to nitpick, but is there a difference between capital technology versus general technology? Are we looking at,
Yeah, the capital technology is like the Chromebooks
okay,
and things like that.
okay. Gotcha.
It's like the big purchases,
Yep.
not like ink and things like that.
Yeah, of course.
And so expenditures, when you include out-of-district tuitions, the increase from FY '26 about 5.21%. So, expenditures are about 20% of our budget, salaries about 80%. So the 3.71% increase in salary factored in with the 5.21% increase in tuition, that gets us to the 4% budget. Not tuition, excuse me,
Yep.
salary.
Yep.
And just as in terms of expenses, as I said, 80% of our salary is our budget is salary. And then if you look at expenses, 47% of our expenses are special ed tuition. When you pull out the special ed tuitions, it's 15% of our expense budget is special education. Expenses, 16.3% is transportation. Technology's at 8.7, energy's at 8.3, and maintenance and grounds is 6.7% of the expenses. And with this 4% budget, I mentioned, seems like hours ago, we've been able to chip away at in this budget, chip away at some of those losses. And this is an example of chipping. It's not huge, but it's important. So within the 4%, we would be able to take a 0.8 Spanish teacher and make that teacher a 1.0. We'd be able to do that with an art teacher, add an additional art section at the high school, take a .8 teacher, make that teacher 1.0. At Clyde Brown, take the .8 adjustment counselor and make that a 1.0 position. And then an occupational therapist, take a .8, make that person a 1.0. And then, as I mentioned earlier, would be taking 1.5 of those 1.9 salaries that were covered by the SOA grant and rolling that into the budget. So $100,000 of those, that 1.5 position could be covered within our 4% budget.
There's a few questions here. Go ahead, Mike.
What is our percentage, full-time percentage, that qualifies a member of your staff for health insurance and other benefits?
0.5,
0.5, okay.
yeah.
So these people are.
So these people are already eligible for benefits.
There, okay, that
yeah.
was my question. Go ahead, Joyce.
The grant,
The
the-
SOA grant?
The SOA, is that one of the previous grants, or is this?
Right, that's the grant that expires this year. So we're taking the 1.9 FTEs and transferring 1.5 into the operating budget.
Will this grant be reapplied for, or what happens once the grant is?
The grant is expired now.
It's expired, so
Yeah.
so you're going to use that money now. What happens in the coming years when you don't have the grant money?
So that's what we're doing here. We're rolling it we're taking that and putting it in the operating budget.
For now, but
For like fiscal year '28, though.
what I'm
It
saying
would be
about,
the
for
intention would
28?
be to keep that in the budget, the
even
operating
though it's
budget.
expired.
Right, it expires this year, so it's done. We don't have it
That's what I'm
next
saying.
year.
So what happens when you no longer have it, but you're still getting 2 teachers or bumping them up, and where does the money then come from?
The operating budget.
Mr. Chair,
Okay,
the revenue is expiring, but the expense is being moved to the operating budget.
Right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pete.
Sorry, thank you.
And then.
I was not connecting the
Yeah, yeah.
dots.
Good question.
And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
just to summarize.
Go ahead,
You're not
into the mic.
adding things, you're not adding positions, you're basically maintaining what you are losing revenue for, your status quo.
Right,
Thank you.
right.
Sorry, I just didn't. it just
No,
wasn't-
It's a valid
I was
question.
missing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then, there are still some variables, the final state allocations, the House and Senate budgets. The town revenues, Shalene and I have been meeting with Mike and Jody and talking about that. Choice receipts, there's usually some fluctuation from the initial cherry sheet until what we get. And then the grant allocation and availability that we spoke about, and then the cost of fuel and things like that, it changes day by day.
That's great.
So that's the budget. We'll continue working with our staff and with the town. And we'll have a balanced budget for town meeting on May 4th. And then, once we know our number, we'll, recast, we'll fix those lines to where we think they
Yep.
need to be in June for 26, 27. So thank you. I'd like to thank Shalene for all her work on it. It's her first budget. She's done a great job. And Susani in our office, who has been doing everything. And administrative team for working to get us to a 4% budget. And then would also like to thank the town for all their support of our schools. And we're very excited about, the level of commitment shown in December. We had 74.5% of the voters approved our new facility, so we're looking forward to that. And just to conclude really quickly, what are the taxpayers getting for their dollars? Well, I went to the experts, I went to AI, and I asked Gemini what they thought, when the prompt is, what are some accolades of Millis Public Schools? And so, Gemini, Copilot, Claude, ChatGPT, all had some very positive things, in the interest of time, I'll let you read that. But we really appreciate the support of the district, of the community, and, you know, we believe that we're giving the taxpayers a good return on their investment.
Perfect. Any final
The
questions?
slide is really interesting. It used to be like people's names. Director of this.
Right.
Now we're talking about Claude. and
Yeah.
Violet. Like they're really people, you know?
Yeah.
What did Claude say? I don't know if Claude's
Claude likes us.
Siri, but I get it.
I'll use Claude. Go ahead,
Very
Joyce.
nice presentation. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Heidi, do you have any questions where you are?
So I guess my only question goes back to the slide that showed comparisons in per-student spending amongst the various towns. And I was trying to figure out, like, what is the common theme in there? What criteria were used to choose those towns? Because you've got, like, Dover-Sherburne in there, which is not equivalent to Millis. If you look at the demographics with Dover-Sherburne, you know, the income level, housing value is way, way, way above Millis. So I'm just curious, like, how were these towns chosen?
So these towns were chosen just because they were neighboring towns and/or part of the Tri-Valley League, of which Millis is a member. So the towns with the more closely aligned socioeconomics and so forth, those are the dot towns that the state has, you know, chosen and said those are the towns most similar to Millis. But, you know, we operate in this community, you know, with these towns and, you know, our teacher salaries and so forth, they're compared to these towns, not necessarily these towns.
Okay, because like, for example, Dover-Sherburne had 26,000, I think.
Yep.
I believe that's only the high school, and if you look at Dover and Sherburne separately, their spending per pupil is more aligned with ours. Sherburne is like a couple $100 higher, Dover might be $1,000 higher. So anyway, it felt like a bunch of disparate towns, but thank you for explaining.
Yeah, and you know, when you look at Dover and Sherburne as towns, those are elementary
Right.
districts, and so
Right.
those numbers tend to be lower. You know, the per pupil expenditure for a Clyde Brown kid would be lower than the per pupil expenditure for a high school kid.
Just based on
Just
low
based
low
on-
population of those towns,
And
right?
the equipment and all those
Yeah.
types of things.
Well, I appreciate you coming in and sharing your presentation and very exciting news where you are financially as well as from a budget standpoint, so that's all good. Very good stuff.
Great.
It's exciting.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, I want to go open the windows. In fact, I'm going to.
Now it's getting serious.
We're getting into municipal stuff here. Oh, trust me, it's coming. All right. Hey, guys, all right. Moving on with the agenda here, going into town buildings and a slew of other things, so you guys ready to roll?
I think so.
All right, let's do this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the next item on your agenda is town buildings.
It is.
So since the Assistant Town Administrator works more directly in that area than I do, I've asked her to take on that budget and go over both our operating budget request as well as the two capital articles,
Sure,
two capital items that you'll see as part of the capital article.
okay, go ahead,
So with that, I will
Karen,
turn
when
it
you're
over.
ready.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Everyone still awake?
Absolutely, we're just warming up.
That was exciting stuff.
That was good.
It was great. So town buildings is an account that provides for the various costs associated both with this building as well as the other buildings we have in town, including police, fire, library, Niagara Hall, and soon 64 Exchange Street, which is what Ellen has been working
Oh,
on.
right, of course. Yes, yes.
Our new train station, which we're very excited about. I should say, we own the building currently, but it will look a little different once we get it up and running again. So not a lot of exciting things to say about town buildings this year. We are looking for a 5% increase generally across the budget. There's nothing that particularly stands out. It's all due to inflation, unfortunately. We have combined a few things. Gosh, my glasses. Over the past few years, so for example, the maintenance contracts, it used to just be this building. We've move things together now for trash removal services, things like pest control, generator maintenance, all the really exciting things. But we've combined and we get a few efficiencies there. We also added last year, I don't know if you all remember, but we added an article, or we passed an article for unanticipated building repairs.
I remember that.
To the tune of $300,000. That has been great. It's been very helpful. We've used a little over $40,000 thus far of that particular article. I anticipate probably another $20,000 this year. So I don't think we need to refund it come this spring, but I think that has been saving us.
And have those repairs gone to any specific building or?
Varying.
Varying.
Unfortunately, police and fire are already old enough that things are starting to wear down.
Okay.
So a lot of the things are HVAC repairs. That tends to be our biggest. Sometimes we've had a few generator issues that have been costly. I'm trying to think if there's anything else major.
Mostly HVAC.
Yeah, HVAC is the
They're
biggest
about 10
cost driver for us. Sorry, Mike, what?
They're about 10-year.
Yeah. It's just, it is what it is in this day and age. But I think we do well. I think we try to get the most bang for our buck wherever we can here. And then, unless you have any specific questions.
Go ahead, Mike.
Go ahead.
So you alluded to the train station, and there were upcoming things associated. So fill us in on that.
Well, so it was a vacant building for quite a few years, if you remember. So the water was turned off, the heat was turned off, and it was just kind of sitting there. So this year, now that we're going in and we've put some money aside to make the repairs and get it going again, the select board voted to approve putting the Millis Food Pantry in there. So they're going to be in the bottom floor when this is up and running. But of course, then you're going to have costs associated with electricity, heat, other things. We haven't worked everything out yet, but Millis Food Pantry will be paying part of that. Obviously, the town will still pay part of that. I think we're looking at museum upstairs. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, I think it's also part of the discussion was to be able to display more of the historical artifacts of the town. There are a lot of very interesting old artifacts in town that are currently, because of space issues, kind of locked away in
Don't have
storage areas.
Clico Club on them.
Some of them, some don't. We have some very old maps, a lot of interesting old items from the 1800s that are either tucked away in the Oak Grove Farm or in some rooms in this building that we'd love to be able to display to the public. That really would, I think, be items of interest to people that have lived in the town. And so I think the second floor would be perfect for that. So that's something that we're looking at as well. So that'll be the next steps. I know that work is ongoing. There's been a lot of funds raised to do the interior work in the building. And I think they're looking for some time later in the spring or early summer to have some sort of unveiling or ceremony, hopefully.
Nice.
So.
And you've
Go ahead.
mentioned Oak Grove. So what's going? I know we don't have a tenant in anymore because of situations in there. Where are we headed with that, if anything?
So we have, that's gone out to bid for a tenant.
You're looking?
So that, yeah. So I don't remember the date that's due, but that's coming up in the next couple of weeks.
April 16th or
April
something.
16th. So we're actively, put that out to bid, and we'll see if we get any, what interest we get.
So are you looking for a commercial tenant in there?
No,
No,
residential tenant.
residential.
Okay, so I thought the reason we didn't have any more residential tenants in there was because of the condition of the premises. It didn't make much sense because of the possibility of code violations and so forth.
No, the necessary repairs have been made,
They have?
that we have got it to a code condition where we can have a tenant in there. We also think it's obviously safer for the overall building to have a tenant in there all the time, someone keeping an eye on things. And as you know, part of the tenant arrangement is for the tenant to take care of certain responsibilities on the grounds.
Yeah.
And because of that, we expect the rent to be a little less than market rate. But we also get the services of someone coming in and being there and taking care of the immediate grounds and aspects of the building.
Perfect.
All right.
It's a win-win.
Mike's trying to steal my thunder. No, I'm kidding. No, we're excited because that's been a long time coming, getting the RFP out for that. So I
Yeah.
think it'll be great, again, like you said, to have somebody over there and to do that piece of it. I think the minimum monthly that we put out was 1,500, but it could be more than that. It just depends on what we get. So, and there's a cost escalator in there as well. Any other questions? Okay, moving on.
Yep.
I have glasses on and off. My eyes are tired at this time of night. Capital request. We have 2 capital requests for the buildings. The first of which, and I think this is the first in your packet, is for flooring. The last major renovations that occurred in this particular building, the Veterans Memorial Building, was 1998. Our floors are old. They are tired. We actually have some, is this what you have? It might say paving on at the top,
Yeah, I have paving.
because 2 of them said paving on the top.
That was my mistake.
Okay,
So everything else is correct, but the paving titles didn't get changed.
gotcha.
So if you see it, so the one for 75,000 is the one I'm speaking to.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yep.
So this is a project, so we wanted to do it as an overall project for the building. It would replace some of the worn-out carpeting and vinyl flooring. We'd also like to redo some of the hardwood floors. And this is, obviously, it's both cosmetic, but it's also for safety. If you looked on the stairs, some of the stair treads are all worn. It's just something that really needs to happen. So that's 75,000.
Is that throughout the building?
Throughout the
Downstairs?
building, throughout the
All
building.
levels.
So Council on Aging did some on their own,
Right.
but there are sections of the downstairs.
Yeah, just for clarification, not every piece of flooring in the building will be redone, but it's the oldest sections that are most worn. Probably about a third of the flooring in the town hall has been replaced. Most of that has been done. We've had some water infiltration in the building a number of years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago. So we've had probably 4 or 5 rooms in the building that were redone because of insurance claims. But a lot of remaining areas still need work, and this should take care of most of the most severe issues within the building.
Thank you.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brett.
Is there, have we looked at just completing it and what the delta would be from completing to just doing the portion that takes you to 75,000?
So this should cover, the 75,000
This covers
should
the
cover
rest.
all of it.
Ah,
So it's
okay.
this room, it's the hallway out here.
So there wouldn't
you
be
notice
a
when you're walking
remainder?
out. No, there wouldn't be anything left to do at that point. That should complete it,
There
correct?
are rooms that were redone 4 or 5 years ago. We don't
Right.
expect that to need to be done for another 7 to 10 years.
And that goes out to, that goes out to bid?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And then, I'm sorry, I'm looking at which one is flooring. Parking lot. So the parking lot out here also was last paved in 1998, and as noted, during the intervening 28 years, the parking lot has settled and cracked significantly. It's starting to create a safety hazard in areas. We actually had a sinkhole last year in one of the parking spots. I don't know if you remember that. So this would be a comprehensive repair and repaving of the entire lot.
Lot being in the front and the back.
This whole area, yes. So
Around the
it'll be
building.
right around to the back for the Council on Aging as well. And so that, we got a quote of 250,000 for that. And actually, we're looking for that, we were putting it in for this year, but I think were we definitely gonna do it in '27?
We're looking at it. We're looking at it.
I was gonna, go
We're
ahead.
looking
I
at the
was gonna
funding
ask.
availability.
Okay.
The goal is to do it this year, or if we're not able to do
Push
it
it out a
next
year.
year, we'll certainly be having that discussion with the select board at their next couple of meetings.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I think that's kind of the broad picture, unless you have specifics.
Any paving or flooring questions?
No.
I think we're good.
Okay.
All right, let's move into benefits.
I know, I keep putting mine on and off.
So the benefits section of the budget, it's a large dollar amount as part of our budget, as you'll see. Very important part. And I just want to go over some of the changes, tweaks in the budget, in that budget for this year. So the ACA reporting, that's a small amount that we just, it's like an administrative fee. And we're moving that to HR because that deals explicitly with human resource issues. So that will fall under the HR budget.
So why is it listed then?
Yeah, why is it listed?
I will check with Jody on that.
I mean, it should be a zero, right?
It probably, yeah, I'll let you explain that.
It's listed because the funds that were requested prior to deciding to move it to HR. So you're seeing it in this column. There's another column that we're working on.
I gotcha. Oh, yep,
Follow.
working sheet.
Right, so that will be gone. That will be a zero eventually.
Okay.
But we wanted to show what it is and that it's moving. The disability insurance, that's just an increase of 4%.
Is that premiums or coverage? What is, it seems like a small amount.
That's premiums.
Yeah, okay.
The life insurance, and that's offered to all full-time town employees. That's just a premium increase of 4%
Yeah.
that we're anticipating. Medicare, increase of 4%. Medicare B reimbursement, again, increase of 4%. The next change really has to do with our overall health insurance. So for retiree health insurance, again, this is through, all our health insurance is through the GIC. So for the retiree, we're anticipating an 8% projected increase at $1,080,000. And then make sure I have these columns right here. So
We've got retirement.
the retirement, that's our assessment with Norfolk County. And we're projecting a 10% increase.
Can you just explain the difference between those two?
So the retirement, that's for the pensions, that's the pension cost for the town, so that's not health insurance.
Yeah.
So we put those together just because they both have to do with retirees. So
Yeah.
one's the health coverage, the other is retirement. We may have an updated number there. We did get some recent numbers that showed that may actually be a slight decrease. And
Overall or from? sorry.
Overall.
Okay, yeah.
And the reason is last year, if you recall, we had an 11% increase in that item,
I do remember.
and which was pretty shocking to our budget. And many of the town administrators and finance directors in the area went to the Norfolk County meetings where they would discuss this and really beg them to take a look at that and push out the schedule a couple years so it's not hitting the towns as hard as a budgetary issue. And they have done that. So that, because we paid so much last year for an increase, they set up new schedules.
Yep.
And we think it's gonna decrease slightly. So we'll have more information on that by next week. to
So on the,
confirm that.
on the retirement pension line,
Yes.
or both? So you have
The
8%?
retirement line.
Okay, so you're at 10%
So when you
there?
see it goes up 10%.
Yeah.
It may be either level funded or slightly decreased.
Okay.
We believe. So
Yeah.
we'll have, that was an original projection.
Yep.
But when we just received some numbers that show that may be, we may have a much better number there, thankfully.
Yeah. Go ahead, Pete.
I recall, and please correct me because probably need it, that when OPEB is fully funded, the next thing is the pension fund. Is this?
Yeah, well-
This is us, when we keep talking about that, this is us self-funding our pension line.
That's correct. So we're supposed to be fully funded. Every county, every pension system has set a different date for fully funding. Norfolk County, I believe, was in 2032. I think they're now looking to 2034. And that's what has allowed us to have a little more gradual payments going forward. And really, the OPEB is separate because it's our liability for retiree health insurance, which is that line above. What a lot of towns are looking at is taking, once the pension obligation is satisfied, to use a lot of those funds to help with the OPEB liability.
Okay, so there's the tie-in.
Yeah.
And so it would significantly go down in 2034.
It would go down to very little, probably just in a
then-
maintenance amount
and
to
then
do
we
the
would be
annual
able to-
tweaks. And then the rest of it,
OPEB.
I would
So
recommend
it's this
the
first,
town
then
look
OPEB.
at putting that into OPEB.
Yep.
And maybe within 10 or 15 years of that, the town could fund its OPEB liability.
Thank you.
Right now, it's just not an easy proposition with all the other financial pressures before us.
Right, go ahead, Mike.
Can you explain Medicare, Medicare B reimbursement? Why are we paying Medicare B and reimbursement?
Sure.
Sorry. The Medicare B reimbursement is
Yeah.
something that was negotiated by the unions way back in the day, and it would be impossible, pretty much impossible for us to get rid of. So if you are on Medicare Part B as a retiree, 50% of what you pay gets reimbursed by the town. It's a wonderful benefit for those of us who work here. But
is.
yeah,
Go-
do you wanna speak more
go
to
ahead,
that,
Craig.
Yeah, that was part of a plan that took a lot of the retirees off the town's health care, put them into Medicare, but and it saved us a ton of money.
Okay.
Putting them into Medicare, they still had to pay Part B, so we negotiated 50%. But it took them off of the town health care line,
Yeah.
put them into Medicare, but we still had to pick up 50% of Part B. Everybody won on the deal, so it's
Yeah.
not something that would ever be rescinded.
That was like, how
I was
long
gonna
ago
say,
was
yeah,
that? It was a
when was
while
that,
ago,
Craig?
like.
Sometime in the last 30 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Most towns have
Go ahead.
most towns mandate, I know my
Yeah.
prior town mandated going to Medicare when you reach
Right.
Medicare capability.
yes.
Yeah.
But this is the first I've seen the reimbursement for it.
Yeah, and it's 50%. And
Quite generous back then with their health insurance line, and I think that's why they negotiated the 50% to get the the Medicare eligible people over to it.
Pete?
No, you asked me.
Okay. All right.
So the next item is, we do have the school health insurance coverage. As you know, we starting this year, we split that out for tracking. This is the health insurance for school employees. Just for a second to jump over the Section 125 costs, you'll see the town health coverage, so that's for the municipal employees. So those two together comprise our full, along with the retirement health coverage, comprise our full health insurance cost to the town. The Section 125 costs, and I think it was asked by someone earlier today, what is Section 125? It's a section of the IRS code. And this has to do with the flexible spending accounts, and that's basically just the administrative fees associated with those accounts. So the employees themselves will decide to take a portion of their income. I think the cap is like $3,500, $3,700.
For an FSA account?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they can, at the beginning of the year, they set that aside, and then during the year, every paycheck, a percentage of that gets deducted. And the benefit of that for them is they get to use those funds throughout the year for anything that qualifies for the flexible spending account, which is mostly any deductibles for dental, health,
Pre-tax
prescriptions.
benefits.
Yeah. So it's a good, and it's not taxable at all, so.
Right. Go ahead, Joyce.
I do have a question. I didn't, shame on me, how long have I been on the board? I didn't realize we paid the school health insurance. I thought the school budget took care of that.
No, that's
We
always been a
did.
separate,
It
always been in,
has.
yeah.
See, I missed that one.
Pete?
Real quick, just because these slides are for public consumption, I would note these cells that are empty, but then go right up to 2026, having $1 million expenditure.
Right.
And, represent what could be construed as large increases. They've just been
Yes.
allocated to different lines. I think I would add a note to that, just to avoid.
That's a good point. So people that don't know the
Yeah.
background of that might be very confused as to what's happening there. Yeah.
Yeah, great point.
yeah.
Go ahead, Craig.
Just to Joyce's point, we made that change to health insurance last year, or this
Okay.
year, but it's always been paid by the town. It was always just one number that we called health
Okay, so
insurance.
that's what I was-
But one of your former colleagues, Kathy, she pushed hard to have it separated out for clarity. So it doesn't change anything. Insurance costs are still insurance costs, and they're being paid. But now we can see how much goes to which side.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be fair to burden them with, what is that, $2 million because we didn't give them any, because we'd been paying it out of a shared budget before. So we could increase their allocation by 2 million, say you own health insurance, but it's just cleaner this way.
Yep, 100%.
No, thank you.
Totally
That
agree.
just-
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good clarification. I don't know if this is the right time to ask, but I know that in the last year or so, there was discussion of trying to offset some of the insurance costs by having spouses opt out of the insurance and go with spouses coverage, et cetera. Does
Yeah, that is being studied.
Okay.
And I believe about 6 weeks ago, I know that the select board had some discussion about that at one of their meetings, and they did support going ahead and initiating a program.
Okay.
We're not sure if we're going to be able to get that initiated this year, but
Sure.
we're definitely looking at getting everything in place so that it's ready to go. We have to approach the Public Employee Committee, which is made up of employees in different collective bargaining units in the town, and we need to discuss that with them. They need to vote on it, and if the majority vote in favor, then we can go ahead with initiating an opt-out program, which again, I think could save the town hundreds of thousands of dollars, a successful program. So we're definitely looking at moving forward with that.
Perfect.
What is that study gonna cost, or is there a cost to it?
No, there's no cost.
Okay, good.
More of an analysis.
Yeah, it's internal.
Thank you.
Internal reviews, and then
Thank you.
working with the Public Employee Committee.
I asked that because somebody will ask me.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're,
All right.
any other
Any
thoughts
questions
on
on
benefits?
benefits?
No, all right.
Great, thank you. So the next item we have, I think, is general insurance.
Yes.
One of the few bright spots we had this year, as far as our budget items, is that we were notified by Maya that most of our insurance lines would be, close to level. There'd be no increase or very little increase, with the exception of the police and fire accident insurances, which we're anticipating about a 4% increase in those items. So, as you can see, it's a very small increase from FY '26 to FY '27.
Yep.
So, a good piece of news. I'd be happy to answer any questions about any of the line items there, questions about what they're for, or if there's any concerns.
I think, go ahead, Brent?
Brief
Yeah.
question about the analysis of coverage and risk exposure. How often do we review coverage amounts and the lenses that we?
Yeah, we review those several times a year. We have our insurance account executive come out, and we meet with him, Dave Labonte, who's worked with Maya for like 30 years. He's our account executive, and he comes out and meets with Karen and I a few times a year, and we spend, sometimes we spend half a day going through all the accounts. We look at the claims, we look at, if there are any areas that we think that our coverage might be inadequate. And every year we look at, a few tweaks to the plans to make sure we're properly covered. Sometimes as new things come about, the cyber coverage, and there's different issues in, in the insurance world. But we have a good working relationship with the folks at Maya. We've had Maya for forever, and they're great on service. And we also work with them whenever we have a new building construction to make sure that they're reviewing the materials to make sure we're covered for liability and so forth. Like the upcoming, middle senior high school project. We've had discussions with them on that, and conversations with the school building committee members. So we do look at that several times a year.
I just wanted to add a couple of things. So yeah, at least, Dave comes out once a year for a very big overview, and then twice a year we go through all of our documents, all of the policies, and I'll send them out to departments and say, can you please look, make sure this is accurate. There isn't equipment you got rid of that suddenly we're still covering, so we try to be really diligent about those pieces too. And then Maya's great about getting grants as well, and I didn't point it out on the building. If you look on the town buildings, we did get a grant for $16,833. It's called a Flex Grant, and that's due to credits that we received. If we're sort of in good standing, if we're taking classes, if we're putting things in place that help minimize our risk. we can apply for grants there. And this one we're specifically using to update and upgrade security cameras here at Town Hall.
Where is that on the?
Especially down so it's not here, it's on the town buildings narrative.
Okay.
And I guess I should have, as Ellen says, always lead with the good news.
I thought I read it, that's why I was
Yeah,
asking.
that's where it is.
Okay. Oh,
So
there it is.
There are
There
a
it
couple
is.
of grants. There's another risk grant that we
Page,
can get as well. So
42.
we did get a grant that we used to put in, which was all through insurance, to put in sensors over at the fire station doors for when they're backing out of the garage.
Yep,
It helps to remind everybody if the doors are down. So
smart.
it's just a safety thing. So yeah, so there are ways that we get credits from, and Maya's been really good about that. So
Gotcha.
sorry.
All right. Any other questions on
I think we're good on that one.
the general insurance? So I think the next one we have is the Select Board Town Administrator
Yes,
budgets.
lots
Just
of questions here.
going through personnel services, we've got longevity, we've got the different salaries and wages. Most of those are either by contract or, in the case of Karen, as the Assistant Town Administrator, that's based on the personnel plan. We do have a few items that have moved to HR on this one, like the sick leave buyback. Some of the wages have moved over to HR. Last year, we paid for, because when we went into town meeting, we didn't know if this was going to get approved or not. So the HR generalist that we had here, Victoria, from our office, was still being paid out of the Select Board Town Administrator. So since she's a full-time HR generalist, it's appropriate to move that salary over to the HR line.
Okay,
So those are some of the big moves in there. We have requested some funds in the wages clerical overtime. Again, we have someone in there for, we have a department assistant for 18 hours a week. That's really just to cover if we have some special areas we need to fill, if she gets behind on a little of the work, or we need some coverage. We want to look at a little bit of overtime. When I say overtime too, I want to stress it's not time and a half, it's just a little time beyond the regular hours.
that's the 1,000 to 4,000 line?
Yes.
Okay,
And then the public record stipend, when that started a number of years ago, our former town clerk was part-time and could not take that over. And so we did look to see who would be available to do that. And the assistant town administrator, even though she's pretty stretched thin, agreed to take it and stay late some days to catch up on that and keep that going. And what I'll tell you is that in a lot of the larger towns, they actually have a separate person that's either a part-time or full-time person, depending on the size of the community, that does that work. And I would say in the last 3 years, our public records requests have probably increased about 1,000%. The amount of records, we used to get a request like once a month. Now we get 2 or 3 a day at least. Well, I've seen of 2 or 3 a day, maybe 5 or 6 a week.
will that
But-
change as we digitize the different
Well,
records going forward?
it'll cut down the time a little bit. Once we get everything digitized, what it'll do is it'll enable us to basically just point people to certain, record archives online. But right now, a lot of the records that people are looking for, they're not easily accessible online.
Yep.
So, and we have 10 days to respond to request, and then we can ask for a 15-day extension, but we ultimately have about 25 days to respond. And we get a lot of responses from even private companies. They're tax title companies or they're companies, and they just say, we want a list of all these from these years. And we have to provide them. We can't just say, well, you're a private company, we're not going to provide them.
Yeah.
And
The
we're-
document exists, we have to
And,
provide it.
and,
Yeah.
you
We
know,
have to create a document.
unfortunately, we're only allowed to charge up to $25 an hour for the time on that, and plus so much per page. But most of these aren't paper, they're all, electronic copies. But again, it's, Unfortunately, the state definitely gave us an unfunded mandate on that. And so we're making it work without having to bring in an extra person, but, and that was in the, really in a town clerk budget line item, but again, it had never been utilized because the prior town clerk up until last year was
Yep.
part-time and really couldn't do it.
Yep,
So she was only here, maybe a day a week at most.
yep.
On the expense line items, just to run through the different line items. On the annual audit, that's been moved into the finance director's line item because that office really reviews the progress of the audit as it's proceeding because they work with the auditors the most. And they're best able to determine, at what process they are there.
On that note, I know if this was in a prior meeting, I think maybe when I wasn't here, are we bringing the audit folks to the tri-board meeting?
Yes, we've asked our
Okay.
new auditor
Yeah.
to come in and to speak to
the tri-board?
everyone together.
Okay, great.
And this new audit firm is amazing. We had the prior audit firm for quite a while, and they were very good, but unfortunately, they kept getting bought out by larger firms, and the price went up 50%, and the service level dropped considerably. So we did go out, we solicited bids. There's only 3 or 4 big players in Massachusetts in the municipal auditing field, and so you'll get to meet the auditor. And they completed the audit very quickly. So we're,
Great.
the audit timeframes had fallen behind a little bit, which made both the finance director and I a little uncomfortable, so we've been pressing them to kind of catch up on that. So we're getting much more timely. The auto mileage reimbursement, that dropped quite a bit. I used to have a car allowance or reimbursement in my contract. That was removed as part of my last negotiated contract. So that allowed that line to drop considerably. The consulting services, that is the, I believe, the social worker?
Yes.
Yes. And again, we'll be reviewing that because that's also part of the HCA funds that we're nearing the end of. So we'll be reviewing that as we kind of wrap up the budget process.
Okay.
Let's see, the next item of note. The meetings. That has increased a little bit. You see it, the adopted from 26 was 4,687. We're requesting 8,000. The reason is that our EDC and Energy Committee really have needed a little bit of support to attend some seminars and other for their members. So they've requested that be considered as part of our expense budget. So that's why that's gone up a few $1,000s. Let's see, the town meeting expense, it used to be police details. This is, the reason that's going up is in the past, as you know, we used an outside audio company, Oaken Sound, and for our town meetings, and we never really had it included in a budget. And every year we needed to find funds to fund it from, so we put that in there. To try to cover the costs associated for the town meetings. So that is a town meeting expense.
Yeah, and I just wanted to clarify, so the sound that's in the, we do use them for the microphones actually in the meeting room as well. But we've had to use them, especially it's for TVs as well sometimes when we have to use the gym and whenever we have overflow, it's very expensive to run.
Yes.
So again, like Mike said, we never had a line to put it on. We were just trying to pull it out of supplies and expenses
Yeah.
and other places.
Yeah.
So even though it said police details, it does include some details. It includes the fire detail and the police details that come to town meetings and are at the elections. We also
Yeah.
cover those pieces.
Including the sound. Go ahead, Mike.
Perhaps Craig could answer this question. We did discuss with town clerk last week about the possibility of having electronic clickers for town meeting, and she said that the select board had been reviewing that. Maybe you could fill us in on that?
We've looked at that a few times on a few different committees. Erin Underhill, when she was moderator, put together a town meeting. This doesn't work. Put together a.
Do you want a different microphone?
Yeah.
You can use a different microphone.
Yeah, we've looked at that on a bunch of committees. There was a town meeting committee when Erin Underhill was moderator, she put it together. There was a lot of back and forth on that. It costs a lot of money to buy the systems. Renting the systems is equally expensive. If you run a meeting and you own 400 clickers and you have 401 people show up, you've now got an issue because you can't use them because one person doesn't have one. So there's a lot of issues that go into it. And then it was perceived as a solution in search of a problem by the committee that looked at it. There's some people that say they're intimidated at town meeting, and I don't think the last couple have had anything controversial at all about it, and to spend thousands of dollars extra per town meeting for that might not be the best use of resources. It's something that's worth considering. But I mean, people have talked, they want to be able to sit at home and vote on their phones. You can't. No. You're going to have to come to that hall. And if you come to that hall and we don't have enough remotes or remote voting tools, you can't have a meeting. Or you can't use them, one of the two. So I don't know that it is a solution that we need to use, but we've looked at it, but we haven't had any serious discussions.
It would be great to use the
about it.
technology, but Millis might not be the best fit for it based
It's
on
not-
the numbers of attendees during a meeting.
And it's not used by a lot of towns. Some
Okay.
towns use it. Some towns use it for everything because they want secret ballots. Well, you have a secret ballot at the polls. And do we need a secret ballot on unpaid bills? We need a secret ballot for big issues, override issues, potentially, although I tend to disagree on that on
Yeah.
philosophical grounds. But people argue we do. I think for probably 95% of the warrant, you don't need a secret ballot. If you think back to the last town meeting, we had the high school, everything else passed on voice votes pretty quickly, and
Yep.
and it worked.
Did you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, I think one of the things, one aspect to consider, and you probably already have, but with town council's advice perhaps, with big items like sometimes big projects, capital projects and so forth, the accuracy of the vote could be challenged in a court proceeding and then create havoc in terms of even that project going forward. So I know that's why some towns have gone to it, to eliminate that possibility.
Yeah, I think that I'm just looking back at the last couple, I think we haven't had anything that was even close enough to consider that. Most of them passed on a voice vote. The high school passed on a voice vote. The elementary school passed on a voice vote. So an obvious voice vote, and that's what needs to be, considered. Anybody can challenge it for a standing count. It's something worth considering. It's something we'll keep looking at to see if there's options for it. But it may not be the best use of very limited funds. I don't want to spend, $2,500, $4,000, some number for town meetings when we could use it for just about anything else.
Understood.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joyce.
What is physical, I'm sorry, what are physical exams?
When we hire.
But why did it go from 5,500 to 0?
It got switched over to the human resources because physical exams
That
have
one
to do
did
with
too.
onboarding.
Okay.
So when we appoint someone to work for the town, there's usually two requirements. They have to pass a basic physical, and they have to pass, they have to have a Cori test.
Sure.
So, so because that's really an HR function, we move that over to HR.
Okay.
And that's for school and municipal hires.
And not
that
to
we're
say
able
they're
to-
driving a vehicle or anything, it's safety, it's drug screen as well.
Yes.
Gotcha. Have the
I
same
think the
question.
last budget item I want to just touch base on, it's a
Did
small
you?
item, it's postage. Again, we split that with HR, so our postage went from 2,000 to 1,000, and 1,000 went over to HR. Because they need some postage to do their mailing. That's really it on the overall budget. I know I don't know if everyone received the 3 pages of narrative on our budget, on the department. I don't imagine you want me to read through the 3
No,
pages.
unless you, I didn't know if you were going to point something out,
No,
referencing it.
no.
Okay.
I think, we've had a lot of positive changes in the department.
Yep.
A lot of accomplishments, and I'll let you read through those. and be happy to answer any questions that anyone might have had from reading through those materials. But that pretty much sums that up,
Yeah.
and I'd be, again, happy to answer any questions overall.
Unless someone has a question on sealer weights and measures or.
Well, no, I've got a few more budgets. I'll
Okay,
get to-
okay, all right, keep going. Yeah,
So the next item, Mr. Chair, is the
Yeah.
Human Resources Department. Before we get into the details of the budget, I just want to update you briefly on the status of the department.
sure, go ahead.
The department has I think, made some good progress in a lot of areas. We have struggled a little bit in some of the personnel areas. We have been trying to hire an HR generalist for the school department. We found that to be a difficult process. We have not found the pool of candidates that we would have liked in seeking that. We hired a human resource director. Unfortunately, recently, she decided to resign for other opportunities. So right now, Victoria's still working in the office. She's doing a great job. Due to the recent resignation, we have decided to bring in a consultant, an HR consultant that has over 30 years of experience in municipal and school HR for 1 to 2 days a week. And the select board has been made aware of that. And they are going to, we met with the consultants recently. They're going to start really digging into things and helping us push forward some of the initiatives, including the opt-out program that was brought up earlier. We are going to, as soon as possible, get the search going for the HR generalist for the schools again. And it may be a few months of the consultant helping us really push things forward and using them to help, someone she's really seasoned, she has, tons of experience to help us really push forward the department and build it, and probably go through a search process for an HR director in several months. But we do want to, I think we have made a lot of progress during the time. It's just that we haven't reached the potential we want to yet.
So the goal would be to have a consultant come in for a temporary basis, whatever
Yes.
that is, 2, 3, 4 months, whatever.
And also
that
help us
timeline
with
is.
recruiting,
Okay.
because they have a lot of contacts in the field, statewide, and we're hoping that they will help us with the recruitment process. We just haven't gotten the level of applicants
Yeah.
that we had hoped to.
Okay.
So we do want to, we think we have, fairly competitive salary rates.
Sure.
But it's a growing field, but I don't, the deep pool isn't out there, so we have to work a little harder to get those experienced people in here.
And will you be looking at the HR director and the HR generalist for the school at the same time, or are you going to do director and then generalist?
Well, actually, I think we're going to look for the HR generalist first for the school.
Oh, wow,
While
okay.
while we have the professional consultant here.
Yep.
Because they have the network that can help us really recruit.
Gotcha.
So we'll probably be very active in more of an outreach recruiting, not just posting an ad in a publication, but actually doing active recruiting and trying to find, even if we have to poach them from other communities, we will try to do that. But I think we have a good community here that I think someone would be happy to come to, but we need to really do some outreach. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. But I just wanted to provide that backdrop for the budget before we move forward. And I think, again, we've seen a lot of positive things operationally, but we think, there's still a lot of opportunity if we can get that other HR generalist and get a new HR director in here within a number of months.
Appreciate you bringing it up.
I was just going to add, there's a little bit of a learning curve. There's a big learning curve if you're just coming from an HR background, but you don't have any municipal experience. Municipal is a different animal. We're a very heavily unionized environment, and it's just different. So it's, I think that's been some of our struggle in finding someone who has that type of experience. But like Mike said, I think we've made huge progress from where we were a year ago, and I think we'll keep moving forward. So.
Go ahead, Joyce.
Could you explain to me what the difference is between the HR generalist and an HR director?
Yes, the
And
director-
what the reasons for having two versus,
Yeah, so
Why?
great question.
thank you, I've
The-
had three
the-
tonight.
On a roll.
I am.
The HR director is basically a full department head that oversees the whole HR department. And the school and town, yes. And the two HR generalists will report to the HR director.
Are they basically an admin? Or do they do the onboarding? Do they do the hiring? Do they do the recruiting?
HR is a little special in that area, so the HR generalist will basically do most of the paperwork for onboarding. They'll do the benefits. They'll do, any changes, the yearly changes to pay, when people want to make a change to any of their benefits. We'll deal with a lot of day-to-day things. The HR director will be working on policies, be working with the administration, both the school and municipal administration. They'll be working on collective bargaining negotiations with the school administration. They'll be dealing with disciplinary issues, the higher level issues.
Who does the actual hiring? The HR director, or do you folks do the?
No, I do the hiring, but the HR director does a lot of the assistance in the process. So they'll work with whether it's me or a department head to work on advertisements, to set up the interviews, to work on questions, the process of the interviews, scheduling them, doing reference checks, making sure they have their CORI and their physicals done. They'll work with both the superintendent of schools and myself on collective bargaining agreements. And the generalist won't be involved that much in that high level. There'll be more meeting with all the individual employees whenever they have an individual need for changes in benefits, or they're dealing with, an FMLA issue, or they're just helping.
Right.
The
right,
generalists are much
right.
more
That's-
available.
I kind of knew, but it's best to clarify,
Yeah, best to
because
ask, yeah.
somebody will ask, well, why even bother hiring a new HR person?
Yeah, they do very
Since-
different jobs. I mean, the same
Correct.
area of expertise, but very different jobs. The HR generalists will be more available to the employees to kind of just come in and say, can I speak to someone about this problem? Where if they want to speak with the director, they probably have to make an appointment and things like that.
Okay.
Where, the HR
Okay.
director will be involved and would be one who would meet with town council with us, not the generalists really. So it's really a little bit of a different level.
Okay, good,
Like an
good,
employee going to the department head
right,
instead
right,
of going to Mike.
exactly.
Yeah.
And they'd be the one out there making sure that the town is keeping up with any changes in law, or helping to deal with any grievances or lawsuits against the town that involve employees. It's that
It's that level.
higher level,
Yeah.
yes.
But it makes sense to
Perfect.
need both, the
Yes.
generous at both.
Yes, and that
and
way we have
wait.
someone that's at the school all the time.
Right.
And someone here all the time, and then someone that's really connecting with the administration and the select board on the higher level issues.
Thank you very much for clarifying that.
All right, good question again.
It might have actually been 4 good questions tonight.
So just, again, going through the human resource line items, the salary for the department head, again, we're going to be trying to bring on a seasoned, highly qualified department head for the human resource director. So that's why that level is more really in the mid-range of the salary range, because we want to work hard to try to bring someone with more experience and be able to advertise that, because it is a critical position for the town. Some of the other items I'll be relating back to the executive office budget. The sick leave buyback, again, that $2,000 was transferred from the TA budget. The wages have gone up because there was a salary transferred from the TA budget. Again, the position that was funded last year, more appropriately to be funded by HR. and then all the expenses that were transferred. So all those expenses were transferred from the TA budget except recruiting, which is a new line item. So it's really all the expenses associated with recruiting new employees.
Question about the clerical, the wages for clerical.
Yes.
Is that because you've got the part-time person as well? Is that for more than one person?
The wages clerical is for two HR generalists.
That's for the two?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
After school, but they fall in this budget.
But that has nothing, okay, that has nothing to do with the part-time 18-hour person?
No, not
Okay.
at all.
So just to clarify, the part-time 18-hour person, so that's Janet, so she sits at the desk out here, and she's there, she does all of our accounts payable, she helps take the minutes, some things like that, helps us with day-to-day clerical things. Sometimes Mike and I are in a meeting together. Victoria might be someplace with human resources, we need someone to man the office. I mean,
Right.
it's yeah, or a
Right.
woman in the office, but it's still.
A person
Yeah.
in the office.
Yeah. Understood?
Understood,
Okay.
right? So that's the difference.
Any other,
Any
all
other
right.
questions on the human?
I don't think so.
All right, here we go to the real exciting one, the sealer of weights and measures.
No question.
So we've level funded that.
Legal.
We're in negotiations where we're starting discussions with Medway, our three.
Medfield.
In Medfield. The service is based out of Medway, but the service works with three towns, Medway, Medfield, Millis. And so we're in discussions with them, but we don't expect the price to go up. So I'm putting Mr. Boynton on notice now not to try to increase the cost to us next year. So we think that'll cover all the costs associated with our sealer of weights and measures. And that's basically a bill we received from Medway for them to provide those services to us.
Sounds good.
The next one is celebrations, Memorial Day, and the Legion. Those amounts, haven't had that much of an adjustment in quite a while, so we're looking to have a little bit of adjustment in those line items. Overall, it's still fairly small.
How come the total budget's zero?
It should be, it should be the higher amount. There must be something.
6710 is
the
what it should have
Excel-
been.
The Excel,
Just want to make sure no one's
No, that,
left
yeah.
out.
Sorry, that's what you asked
6710.
for, zero.
You
Yeah.
get nothing,
$6,710.
All right,
nothing.
Any other
perfect.
questions on that?
Nope.
So legal, again, we've had that level funded for a number of years. All things being equal, I'd like to have a little more leeway in that budget, so I am requesting a $10,000 increase. There's a good chance that'll probably end up coming back down a little bit before we get final on the budget, but that we've been able to manage that budget well, and for a town of our size to kind of go year over year for the most part under 100,000 is pretty good.
Do you know why it bumped up in FY '25 to 112 and then back
We
down?
negotiated 5 union contracts that year. So
Gotcha.
that was when we had to renegotiate. Every 3 years,
Yep.
and right now, they're pretty much all lined up.
Okay.
So that added about $10,000 in cost to have, and just so you know, we generally don't have our labor council attend any of the negotiations. We do that all in-house, but it's really reviewing the contracts, the proposals. It's really, most of it's done remotely, phone calls, Zoom meetings, and emails, but still trying to negotiate all 5 collective bargaining agreements with the town. It did add about $10,000 or $15,000 to our legal budget that year.
And the regular town council is a monthly fee.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
$6,500 a month for a retainer, and that's pretty
Yep.
much covered everything for general counsel.
Yep.
So,
Labor council's hourly.
yeah.
Makes sense.
Labor council's our only separate council. Of any, we do have tax title council, but that's very minor. And I think
That's it.
that's it.
That's it.
So,
Couple of warrant items there? or-
yeah, just to talk about the warrant, there really is no real update this evening. I will say that, we're continuing to work on the articles. The select board will be discussing Article 11, on the draft at their meeting next week. That's the transfer, the potential transfer of land for affordable housing. We are gathering additional information for Article 15. That's the pilot agreement that we're looking at for the solar panels at 1073 Main Street.
Yep.
We are waiting from the planning board for the zoning bylaw for battery storage systems and data storage systems. I believe their hearing on this is next Tuesday. So hopefully we'll have that language by next Wednesday from them.
Okay.
There are two other articles that I have discussed with the finance director, and I'll be discussing with the select board next week. We have received a large amount of legal settlement funds for PFAS from a national class action lawsuit against 3M and a few other national chemical companies about PFAS. So we need to find a way to be able to utilize those towards offsetting some of the costs for the PFAS water filtration plants.
Yep.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Pete.
you know you're not going to get away with telling us how much.
Significant.
6 digits,
So
7 digits?
how much?
7 digits.
Thank you.
So it will be helpful. It will be helpful
That's
in a
wonderful.
noticeable way. They've come in over time, so, and we expect more as well. So we just need to set up, and because the bills for the new PFAS plant are gonna start to come in, we wanna get a system where we could utilize some of those funds towards
Totally,
that.
I'm not trying to.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
he is.
It's good news. It's good news. But I don't have I don't have the details tonight. I hope to have, more details for Monday night when we meet with the board. We may be looking at rescinding some debt associated with the PFAS plant in connection with that. So
So-
those
Go
are
ahead.
the only other articles I'm aware of right now that are possible.
Mike,
and-
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So the references have been very vague as to this transfer of land warrant article. Given the fact that we've got zero information on it, we're, a month away from town meeting, does it make any sense to continue this warrant article?
Well, that's a question for the select board.
Yeah.
I'm
And
not going to answer for, I'm not going to
not to
answer
go
for the
on-
select
you could-
board. And there's
Yeah.
a,
That's not a question for Mike.
Go ahead, Craig.
Give me the microphone.
there you go.
Yeah, that's not a fair question to ask the town administrator. That's a select board question, and I'm not going to spoil any surprises. Come to the meeting on Monday night or watch us
There we
later.
go.
In fact, I can't say much about it because I don't want to put my position out there on it because of deliberation rules.
I do
Go ahead.
want to, aside from the land, we're done with the land.
It wasn't my intention for you,
There-
it wasn't my intention
Hang
for
on.
you to answer that question, but maybe pass it on to the select board.
I will be more than happy to pass that on to the members of the board.
Go ahead, Joyce.
As far as the PFAS, I want to thank Jim McKay for all the work that he's done. I know he's recently retired.
Yes.
But I know that he did such due diligence and did such a wonderful, he really was
Yeah,
above
he
everything.
did a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
That I'm sure you all will recognize him for something, but I need to recognize him myself, just to say thank you, Jim. If you're watching this, that's great. If you're not,
Well, speaking of that, DPW's, I think, is showing up next week.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Okay, good.
And he may or may
So-
not be there. I don't know.
So, my guess is he'll come in.
Yeah. Yeah. So
But
just
yes,
from a s-
I agree with you, Joyce. He's done an excellent job, outstanding job in really going after these funds and any opportunity to try to, help the ratepayers with the unfortunate hit they're taking because of the PFAS issue.
Right.
We've worked hard, and Jim's been really the leader on that in trying to get funds, whether it be through the federal grant we received or through, these legal settlements and class action suits where we've had to submit tons of information to them in order to qualify for this, but it is paying off and it will continue to.
and I also thank you as well, but I know because of the DPW, it was his baby.
It was his baby.
Yeah. So for next week, just to look at the schedule, DPW, hopefully by then we can assign articles. We should have a warrant? Or
You will have,
yeah.
you will have a
No,
warrant
not
that I
yet.
expect is 99%
Yeah,
complete.
so we'll look to
next-
assign
for your
those
next
to
meeting.
members. And then work on descriptions for Amanda for the FinCom report. And then on April 13th, select board meeting, final vote and close the warrant.
Yes.
And then on the 15th will be our meeting for final recommendations.
No, I have it as the 8th. We have the 8th as final recommendations, and the 15th, it goes to the printer,
Where?
right here.
Oh, I don't think that's been updated then. Yeah, I think it's on the 15th.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we need the select board to close the warrant before we can recommend.
Yeah.
And they will close and sign the warrant on the 13th.
Yeah.
But again, the warrant will be, I anticipate, short of
Yeah,
any
yeah.
surprises,
Yeah, yeah.
it'll be essentially
Yeah.
fully complete by this time next week.
Correct. And then on April 29th, pre-town meeting and then town meeting.
I just want to know, because there was a question recently about someone submitting a citizen's petition. The warrant is closed. The select board can open it, insert, and take out articles that are currently in here, but you cannot submit a citizen's petition at this point.
Gotcha.
That time is done. It is closed for that purpose.
Gotcha.
In
Good.
case anyone's watching, I just want.
Yeah, no, thank you for clarifying. Go ahead, Pete.
Typically, along the way, we will have been provided a consolidated budget with all of the changes in a spreadsheet format, and we would spend the time reviewing them. And we would have discussion about the new growth estimate, and something that the finance director and others would have,
Yep.
discussed, and most of the time that's with the select board. When is that going to happen?
I would expect that by the tri-board meeting next
Thursday the
Thursday,
9th.
we
Yep.
should be able to provide information that covers most of that information that you were just referencing. So, and just kind of backing up in stepping back and looking at the entire budget, I have been working extensively with the finance director in the overall budget, and we are still going through, making many adjustments and tweaks to get this to work from a revenue expenditure standpoint. We'll be talking about that at the select board's meeting next Monday, and we could expound on that to the finance committee at your meeting next Wednesday, and we'll probably have even additional information for the tri-board meeting next Thursday.
Oh,
I
boy.
don't see.
Go ahead.
I mean, I think you guys know this, but I'm gonna say it anyway, the tri-board, attendance at the tri-board, if we're gonna be discussing the budget, I don't know how you vote on it without having that discussion. So Thursday is.
Well, we won't be asking for any votes
Yeah.
next Thursday.
We won't, right, but we
Yeah.
need the information, and if we're not there, I don't know how you vote on it without having the information.
So you're encouraging
Tues-
people to come to the tri-board. is what
I'm
you're saying.
encouraging this committee to have full attendance on
Yeah.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Full.
That would be
9 people.
great.
I like
That'd be
it.
Great.
of
Should
them
should be on everybody's calendar. Correct.
She won't be able to have.
Any final thoughts?
No, I appreciate all the work that the finance committee's been doing and will continue to do up and through town meeting.
Absolutely.
It is going to be a tight, year to get everything through. I do feel confident that we will be able to, reach the 4% level.
Great.
Funding to
Yep.
fund increases on the municipal and school side at 4%. The additional asks, above-level services, they're going to be difficult.
Yep.
So just putting it out
Understood.
there now. So,
Okay, any other final questions before we move on? No? Awesome. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
covering the entirety of all the different
Thank you
areas.
for being here, too.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Moving along to meeting minute approvals for March 25th of 2026.
I move that we approve the minutes of our last meeting on April 26th.
Fifth.
March 26th.
Yeah. Second. It's
26th.
been moved and seconded to approve the meeting minutes on March 25th of
March 25th.
2026. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Those abstain? Aye.
Aye.
Eric and I are abstaining because we were not here, and Jen is not here. Perfect. Old business, new business.
Liaisons.
Yeah, I had one item here, hang on.
Okay.
Actually, I lied. I don't have anything to add to old and new business. So liaison updates. Go ahead,
Okay.
Joyce.
I've got some really good information that I'd like to share, that the Council on Aging is having a health fair on April 14th. It's brought to you by the Millis Board of Health and the Millis Council on Aging. It's going to be April 14th from 11 to 2. It's free to all Millis seniors. There's going to be resource tables, raffles, giveaways, hearing screening from 11 to 2. You need to call to sign up. There are going to be balance demos, refreshments, but at 11 o'clock, there's going to be a substance use disorder across all ages, and that will be presented by Amy Leone and her team. There's also going to be an Alzheimer's Association that's going to be speaking. So any senior resident that would like to come, it's a wonderful program. The other thing is the Stitch and Sew Bear Group. We're going to be interviewed by Channel 5.
Nice.
Erica Tarantel of Channel 5, I believe it's called 5 on 5, is going to come and interview the ladies of the group. And our bunnies, I'm going to take just a moment to step away from my mic. Whoops. What? That's dead. Along with me. Good thing it was empty. Last thing.
Yep.
Our bunnies, a lot of people have been to the bunny table. We have probably, I'll let you, we've got just a few left. I'm showing them because they're really cute. We've got a little Red Sox guy that going there. And, but they have been a tremendous fundraiser for us. The women from the group have made the bunnies, and the citizens of Millis have been purchasing them. So there are just a few left if anybody wants them.
Impressive.
Thanks.
On to equally exciting things of Capital Planning Committee. Where's your bag of tricks?
Yeah,
I,
I stepped on it.
well, we certainly don't have anything exciting as
Okay,
bunnies.
fair enough.
No, the priorities are being finalized. You know,
Yep.
priority ranking is being finalized, and we expect to be reviewing a draft report tomorrow.
Okay.
Perfect. And I think CPC will probably come on the 15th? 8th? Next week? Either one.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just as long as it's between those two. Any other?
Move to adjourn?
Second.
It's been probably motion to adjourn. Second, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Heidi.